This has to be one of the coolest Spidey pieces I have ever seen, and I'm not keeping it. You know, I heard a similar line from girls growing up all the time. You're one of the coolest and nicest guys, but I'm just not keeping you. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, welcome to the Extreme channel. Today we have another Extreme collectible. We're looking at a custom 1/4 scale Spider-Man piece. Now, if this looks familiar, as you saw in the thumbnail, it should, because recently I reviewed this piece in half scale. However, it was also a variant. It was the retro black costume instead of the blue. So this is the traditional costume, and it's in the normal 1/4 scale, meaning 4 times smaller than a real-life version. This is arguably one of the best Spider-Man statues out there, and let's face it, you have a lot of choices. Now, why am I not keeping it? I'm giving it away. What's that about? Stay tuned for a little bit later. So while we did a review on the big one, this one actually has a ton of different features. So not only are we going to do that giveaway, and you have to qualify for that giveaway, so it's not for everybody. Kind of like crack. But we're going to take a look at him. We're going to see if they did a good a job on this one as they did the half scale. As a spoiler, if you don't want to watch anymore, they did. But like I said, it also has some cool other features. So this is showing the web crawler, or Spidey, or Peter Parker, or whatever you want to call him. Kind of in an Avengers set, because you have Ultron, you have Captain America's shield. So I like that it mixes a lot of that stuff. So again, we're going to look at it within concept, and not a lot has changed from the half scale, but there are some switch outs that do vary up the concept a decent amount. So as I said, Ultron bot base. You have 3 destroyed Ultron bots, completely destroyed, and it's unclear if Spidey destroyed them or the Avengers destroyed them. And there's some cool hidden features we'll talk about. But they're busted up, there's robot parts coming out everywhere, they're clearly defeated, which is no easy task, as you know. And as you move up, you see that there is Spiderweb and there's Captain America's shield. And we're not sure what's going on here. Like I said, we don't know if Captain America killed them, or if Spidey even used Captain America's shield, or what that is about. But it's sitting there, and Spidey is on top of it in just the most smug pose. That's what I like about this. And if you missed that other review, this is based off a cover, and then they took a lot of their own artistic freedom from that. But he is just so badass, so smug. It also shows his agility, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And it's just a great representation of Spidey, in my opinion. And the reason why I like it, like I said, it's not a museum pose, but it's not too action dynamic. It's not like he's really not doing anything. And I like the fact that it's very different. Would look great with an Avengers setup, or even a standalone Spidey, or really any Marvel setup. So I think that's great. So I think the concept's a 4 out of 5 on this. Really impressed, and I'm really curious, because I haven't gone back and watched that half scale video, what I gave the grade for the concept there, because obviously it's very similar. And kind of as a spoiler, these grades are just whatever the hell I think, so it could change from time to time, especially if I'm hangry or hungover, or, well, that's both of those are all the time. But let's dive into design, and I think this one is where this one really takes the cake. There are so many cool options to this and cool things that it does. So here is the unboxing and assembly. For once, thank God it's a small box. Did have a pretty cool art box. Standard black foam with straps, and it was just 1 layer. So here's the first layer. Quite a few pieces, and that's indicative of all the switch outs we are going to look at in a moment. Now let's measure him, which is one of the huge advantages. This does not take up much space at all, which is fantastic. So the deepest part is just under 10 inches with that hand in the front, which technically you could remove, and I mean the Ultron hand. 8 inches wide. And then the tallest part is under 21 inches, so very manageable when it comes to display space. And I also like that Spidey is up there, so technically you could put maybe another statue in front of it. As I say all the time, we are kind of hoarders. I mean, look behind me. So I think that display space is fantastic and the display ability is fantastic. Now, there's a number of different display options. Let's start with the base here. Check out Ultron. If you shine a black light on it, you can vaguely see it here because I have spotlights on, but it lights up quite a bit with the black light. Then there's also an actual light up feature you can put in there, which I did not put in this because, like I said, we are giving it away. This is where there's a ton of switch out options. First, let's look at the portraits. One of my favorites, you have a traditional Spidey with the webbing in the eyes. Then you have one with white and blue around it. And then a silver. Then you have a Delato with the smaller eyes, and this one has some really cool detail on it. But then they have an unmasked Parker portrait. And what I like about this is how badass he looks. It really flows well with the statue. Now, if you're going to display this, obviously, where's his mask? Well, his left arm has a switch out actually holding his mask, which is pretty cool. So if you're displaying the unmasked portrait, you can do this. But if it's a masked portrait, you're just going to do the traditional left arm right here. And we'll take closer looks at those portraits during paint and sculpt. So lots of cool design options. I am definitely a big fan. Now, it is very delicate, so you have to be careful when putting this into the shield so it doesn't crack. Mine had a tiny, tiny hairline crack, but it's underneath the foot, so I'm not worried about anything. As you saw during the assembly, figuring out which of the antenna or whatever they are in Ultron go into which head is a little difficult, but they are marked. It's just hard to tell. So that took a little bit longer. But otherwise, it's not very heavy, so I don't foresee any leaning issues. There's a lot of support on the base, despite how dynamic that is. So I think that's really... So with everything going on I just talked about, I think the design's a 5 out of 5. It's pretty impressive what they did here. Now, the paint and sculpt is also very impressive, with one or two small things, but let's take a look. So the base, while still good, I think is one of the weaker parts, especially on the bottom with the paint and sculpt. It still looks good, and maybe it's because there's too much gray, or I would have liked to see more of detail, like in circuitry and things like that, but you can see some of the hoses and machine parts coming out of Ultron. There's the... pull part of Ultron that was stuck back in him, which is pretty cool. One thing I didn't show is the hand right here. You could remove it if it takes up too much space. You still see a little bit of a magnet there, but kind of a cool option. I like how scarred it is. Not only the darker scoring on it, but the scratches. Almost like some boosters and stuff like this. And keep in mind, this is the back of the statue, so typically you won't see it. So it's cool they still have all that detail. Now, the portraits here, I'm not sure if I like that orange color, but of course it gives that UV light glow. So I think that's definitely worth it. But pretty bunched up. Now regarding the spider webbing, this one doesn't have as much of a moist effect as the last one does. But this is typically what you see, and it's really hard to get this done right significantly. Spider webbing is very hard to do. I've never seen one that I absolutely loved. But I think they did a good job, especially where it's bunched together here. Like I said, I would like it better, but I've never seen better either. So there's kind of an issue with that. The shield here, the back of it, the straps look good. Pretty clean. You can tell that it's not, you can tell that it's sculpted, which I think is a little bit of a disadvantage, but the rivets are around holding it together. And again, you're kind of looking at the front, and I think the front of the shield looks absolutely fantastic. I think it's the perfect amount of shine or gloss. But with paint and sculpt, what really steals the show here is Spidey. He is fantastically done. Not only, I think, his anatomy, he's not overly muscular, or bulky, I guess I should say. He's not overly bulky, but very trim, however, very lean and has some great musculature in the anatomy. And then I love the suit. I love a few things about it. One, look how clean the paint is on it. And then there's also some dark shading that they added that really kind of makes it more vibrant. You can see it in between the folds, which is another great part. You know, typically his suit is pretty tight, but in this type of hunched position, you definitely would see those folds. So I think that is fantastically done. Traditional Spidey symbol on the back there. And then where it's texturized too, in the red and black stripe part, the boots, it looks really good. Incredibly clean paint. And again, that anatomy is just really impressive overall. Regarding its portraits, so there you can, it's kind of hard to see the webbing in the eyes, but it looks fantastic. Now, unlike the big one, the eyes aren't removable. They just have different portraits for each one. They did a great job kind of melding the seam line here together. Then with the Delato portrait, check this out. See how the costume is more tight and almost like some folds around the smaller nose and the smaller eyes. This looks really good. Normally not a fan, but for me, I would probably display this with the unmasked portrait. Now, this isn't the traditional Peter Parker, in my opinion. It's more of a older, badass Peter Parker, not clumsy or anything like that, and I like that. And again, look at the great paint on this. I think they did a nice job on the skin tones, how clean it is around the eyebrows and the hair. Lips a little too purple. I think that's probably the only thing I would have improved. But I think I would definitely display this one because it's different. They did a really nice job. So I'm a big fan of the paint and sculpt on this. Few things they could have done better, but overall, very well done. So as I said, it's very hard to get spider webbing right, but I do like this from what I've seen in the past. I would like to see better. I've just never seen it. But paint, incredibly clean. They did a really good job. I think the paint's a 5 out of 5 on this. It is really impressive, and hence one of the reasons I think this is such a good Spidey statue. But the sculpt is kind of in that same exact category. This is the exact type of Spider-Man I love. We talked about how great the anatomy is. Few areas on the bottom of the base could have been better, but I still think it's a 5 out of 5. It's one of the best Spidey sculpts out there I have seen for sure. So is this worth it? Because that's kind of the negative category here, because this is an expensive piece. Most customs, which are private unlicensed commissions, are more expensive. So this was $1,100, which is a lot for a 1/4 scale, especially one that it is very dynamic, but it's still kind of small. But they only made 60, so this is very hard to get. And I believe there was an option with a gold Ultron base as well. Now, we do regular giveaways on the channel all the time. In fact, 2 days ago, we just launched this video where we're giving away this Tila statue that anybody who has Facebook can actually get into this. Now, this one's a little bit more specialized. This, you have to be a member of the Extreme Channel YouTube. What that is, check the link in the description, or depending on what type of device you are, there is maybe a join button. This is a statue we actually gave away to members. We give away at least one, if not two statues every quarter. So your chances are very high of winning that. Plus, you get tons of other stuff like early access to videos, which is especially important in the sale videos, behind the scenes, vlogs, and more. Now, this guy's already gone to the members, but if you want to check that out for future stuff, check the link in the description below or hit that join button. And I'm doing that because the members that support me, I like to support them. But I don't collect Avengers anymore other than throne pieces. Although this is tempting as hell because one could justify he was with the X-Men a little bit, but the Captain America shield and Ultron kind of throw that off. Seriously, probably my favorite Spidey statue. So I think the value on it, even at $1,100 price tag, I think it's still a 4 out of 5, probably a weak 4 out of 5, because that is pricey, but it is such a good statue. Which kind of tells you what the final category will be. Does it have the X factor? Is it a 5 out of 5 statue? I certainly think it is. You know, what's really cool to me is I believe I gave the half scale a 5 out of 5. And part of that was just due to the size. When something's bigger, it's always better.
That's what he said.
Now, that's not always true, but a lot of the time it is. So, I am impressed that this is still a 5 out of 5 statue. Like I said, really well done, dynamic. I love the different switch out options. I love the concept. Paint, sculpt are fantastic. Very impressed with this piece. What do you guys think? If this is not the best Spidey piece, because it's subjective, throw down what you think is the best Spidey piece in the comments below for your chance to win yet another statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Alright, that's it for today. Again, when I say thank you every time, I really mean that. That's why I like to give back to you guys. But please hit that like button. It's easy. Just do it. And check out some of these other videos. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.